Hello, Jimena. Nice to meet you. I am very happy to see you here. Your family is have a history who everyone need to know because it's great. It's great. What is your family story? Please tell us a bit about your family journey to Chile.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here, talk about my family. And I'll start with my grandfather, Yakov Bronfman. He was born in Chișinău in 1895. And he suffered the pogroms in Chișinău in 1903, 1905. And he told me that the family was, there were 6 children, 2 brothers and 4 sisters. So it was sort of big family. And they had a trap, you know, on the floor to hide when the pogroms happened. And when one of the pogroms came, I think it was 1905, went directly to Chișinău and to the house where they stayed. And my grandfather didn't have place down the floor, you know, in the trapdoor, so they hid him in a wood closet, a cupboard behind all the clothes. You know, and he was there in a little corner, and the Cossacks came into the house and opened this closet and swayed their sabers inside, you know, but they didn't get my grandfather and didn't see them. But you can imagine what that experience was for him. He was a little boy.
Amazing. Wow.
So that's the first thing he told me about his infancy. And then to Chile around 1913, 1914, with his brother, the 2 brothers, and they traveled in a ship where they, this is incredible, they were in the lowest part of the ship because they were very poor, but the family had prepared a beautiful trunk with all their possessions and their clothes. And when they came boarded the ship, they lost the trunk. So the ship came all through the Atlantic, through the Strait of Magellan, where it was so cold, he told me, and he didn't have any clothes. So he worked with the sailors. So they gave him food, you know. And when they reached the first port in Chile, which was not the port where they were getting out, he went out and looked up, and in the first class up there, he saw his trunk. And he went and said, "This is mine." And nobody could believe him because, you know, he looked so poor and the trunk was so beautiful. And the captain came and said, "It can't be your trunk." And he said, "It is." And the captain said, "You describe exactly what's inside. If it is what you say, you take the trunk." So that's how he got his trunk. So you see, it was not without trouble that he reached Chile. But he came here because some friend of some friend of some friend knew somebody here. So the brothers came here without knowing one word of Spanish. And they were received by somebody, I don't know, for a time. And they had to decide that one of them was going to study and the other one was going to work. So they tossed a coin. They tossed a coin, and that way his brother Samuel was the one that was going to work, and my grandfather Yakov was the one who was going to study. So Samuel was very bright for business, and he became later a very, very rich man. And my father studied medicine. So, but he didn't know words of Spanish, so he always told me that there was an admission test, a written admission test, and he had a friend of him to give the test for him because he didn't know Spanish. Mm. So that's how he came, he was admitted. Now, there's another thing that it's incredible about my grandfather, is that he had to work, you know, to pay for the university. And what he did is he worked in a circus. He was a great malabarist, and he was also how do you say, a trapezist. So he worked like that. And the other thing he did was to have some money. He translated Russian children's tales into Spanish. So, and I don't know, but I always remember this tale. He told me it was a Russian tale about a little lost girl who arrives in a village in Russia and claims she's a Russian princess. Nobody believes her. So they pile up like 100 mattresses, you know, one on top of the other. And at the bottom, they put a little pea. And they have the princess lie down, the girl lie down out there. And she cried that this was very uncomfortable. And that's how they, that's how they afterwards believed her. Yes, you are a Russian princess. So that's one of the stories that he translated, and he told all the stories to me. Another great story he had when he was studying, he had a great number of friends, and he was known by everybody as the Russian, you know, the Russian. And in the decade in 20s, the great prima ballerina Pavlova was coming to Chile. And the people at the cultural authorities, etc., didn't know what to do because Russian was not spoken here, nobody knew. And then somebody remembered and said, call the Russian. So my grandfather was his escort and his translator during the whole tour. And he showed me a photograph of Pavlova dedicated to him, but I haven't been able to find it. But you see, he had lots of incredible anecdotes during his life. After the brothers came here a little later, they brought all the family, you know, father, mother, and their 4 sisters, and they established themselves here. And my great-grandfather, his name was Nahum Bronfman, my grandfather's father. He created a society, the Hevra Kadisha, which built the first Jewish cemetery in Santiago. Jewish most important for Jewish people. The first person to be buried there was one of his. So if you go in the cemetery, the first tomb you see is one of my grandfather's sisters. Well, let me show you. You won't believe this. I don't know if I told you, but I have a photograph of my great-great-grandmother.
Wow.
I know her as v-ați, and this is a photograph of her in Chișinău.
Congratulations. Yes, yes, I see, yes, yes.
You know, the typical Russian woman.
Yes.
That's v-ați. And I also have for you a photograph of the family. This was also taken in Chișinău, where you see the tallest of the boys there is my grandfather. That's the family that finally came to Chile.
Wow. Wow. Now, how large is your family dynasty in Chile now? Have your family members gravitated towards certain fields of work, science or business or public service, healthcare?
We're not a big family because my family, my father, grandfather, because my father had only one brother. So there were two brothers. And my grandfather was a doctor. He was in medicine. The two brothers were civil engineers, and they both created a construction company and constructed a lot. And my father became also the president of the Chilean Chamber of Construction. And he is very, very well known and very well remembered for that. And others of I have two sisters, and I have three first cousins from my uncle. Very different professions. I am a lawyer, and the last of my cousins, the only boy, he's a man now, he's also a lawyer. And there's also a doctor. She's an eminence in cancer. She's very well known. One of my sisters is an architect. The other is a teacher. The second of my cousins is periodista. Oh my God, I forgot. Newswoman. I don't remember the name now.
Journalist.
Journalist. Thank you. A journalist, but also she spent a lot of time at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and she was ambassador of Chile in Israel from 2010 to 2014. And later on, she stayed there in Israel. She married an Israeli, and she's there now, and I'm going to visit with her now in August. She's like my sister. So very different activities, but what else?
The second generation of the Bronfman families in Chile was one of the largest real estate builders in the country. What is the key of success for do this?
Well, I would say great dedication, effort, studying. There were no fools. I mean, my father was a very, very intelligent man, his brother too. And they were very, very serious, you know. They were very well known and appreciated. You know, doing business with them was a great thing to do. And they worked at the beginning lots of time by participating in bids, governmental bids to build houses for the government. So they did that for a lot of time. And then they started to build for privately, you know, buildings and other kinds of more expensive houses and that kind of thing. And the quality of the constructions was very good. And you could know for sure that they wouldn't be changing materials, you know, to spend less money, or other people do that. But they, as I said, were very, very serious.
Chile has had tumultuous periods in its history. How did your family adjust to regime changes?
Well, my family has been, in general, conservative, not leftists. So we had to, I lived through the Allende period, which ended with the military coup. And it was an awful time. We had to cope as well as we could. There was nothing you could buy if it wasn't in the black market, you know? So it was very difficult. At that time, 6 months before the coup, I had my first son, and didn't have nothing to feed him. So we had to go to the black market or spend hours and hours in queues, you know, to buy some small thing. It was incredible. But then we stayed in Chile. Many people left, you know, they couldn't stand it. And but we stayed, and we coped with it.
Your father was a professor, then become an entrepreneur of construction business. What was the reason to do this?
No, he was a professor, but he was in business at the same time. He did both things jointly. So when he was starting, before creating his construction company, he worked for a big, big industry called Pizarreño that was owned by by Samuel Bronfman, my grandfather's brother, you know, the one that became the rich one. So he worked there for a couple of years, and then he started his independent business. But he was a professor at the same time.
Your family built over 700,000 of square meters of real estate. This is over 14,000 of homes. This is remarkable. It's big. It's more than Moldova, who built in 2 years. This is amazing. Please tell us about your mother. I saw an impressive list of her achievements in fine arts.
Yes. Yes, she was an artist since she was very young. She was born in New York, in Brooklyn. Her mother, my grandmother, came from Odessa and went through Ellis Island, you know?
Mhm.
She was called Elsa, my grandmother. She was a seamstress, and she lived to be 102. Well, for health reasons of one of his sons, the family moved from New York to Buenos Aires. And
Mhm.
there's where my mother arrived in Buenos Aires when she was around 5. And there she made all her studies and started the study of art. And she did everything. She did sculpture, she did oil paintings. And finally, she dedicated herself to etchings. And that's how, with that kind of art, she participated in all those expositions and won a lot of prizes. She's very, very, she has a lot of, she's very creative. So I didn't go with her to any of the places, you know, my sisters always, one of them went with her because I was working and I couldn't use the time. But, you know, she's going to be 96 and she's still working.
Well, congratulations. Your mother had an art exhibition in Japan, Argentina, Israel, Italy, Caribbean. Do you have an opportunity to accompany her? No.
No.
No. As a child, what did you wish to be when you grow up?
As a child, I had ballet lessons since I was 8, and I loved it. And I wanted to be a prima ballerina, but that passed. But then when I was finishing school, the only thing I wanted to be was a teacher of history.
Mhm.
I loved history. And my father was so concerned because he said, look, you will die of hunger. That's not something you want to do. And I said, yes, that's what I want to do. So finally, he convinced me to go to law school with the promise that if I didn't like law school after 1 year, I could go back to study for being a teacher of history. But I loved law. So he was right.
Have you been in touch with any other families in Chile who immigrated from Bessarabia?
Well, the only one that appears in the Encyclopedia is Sergio Melnik.
Mhm.
And I've tried to contact him, but I haven't been able to. So if you have his contact details, I'd love to. So
have you been in touch with anyone from the Republic of Moldova during your professional career?
no, I didn't have business with Moldova, unfortunately. The only contact I've had is with you.
You have done your postgraduate studies in International Law Institute in DC. Are there another individuals from your generation who choose to return home after studies abroad?
Most of them do, yes. They study abroad, and most of them do come back to Chile.
Mhm.
So they're all great professionals, I would say. The ones I was with my generation.
Let's go in your professional side. How can a good lawyer contribute to her country? Identifying roadblocks from old policies or advising new policies or negotiation with international agencies, anything else? How can do this?
All of the above. All of the above. I mean, you can help your country by being a part of the creation of regulations or laws that will help investment to grow, and then the country will grow, you know, and facilitate, you know, the foreign investment to come to Chile. You can also help from a private sector, help the foreign investors, which is what I almost always did, to help big projects, you know, be organized so they can invest in Chile and have the structure they need that accommodates them. From all points of view, you know, corporate, financial, tax, that's a very important issue, the tax structure of the project.
Please explain how it's work. You served as a prosecutor for the Foreign Investment Committee. Explain just how important this person in protecting and the state's interest and providing peace of mind of investors. Okay.
Well, at that time, there was a regulation, law in force, a decree, a foreign investment decree that gave foreign investors a very good assurance to invest in the country, because this permitted the foreign investor to execute a contract with the state of Chile. You know, a contract that a foreign investment contract was called, that established all the rights and obligations of the foreign investor and all of the rights and obligations of the state. So the rules were very clear, and the contract could not be amended only by the state. It had to be by both parties. So this was very important. And there were also certain tax facilities that were granted in this contract, which were very important. One of which was tax invariability for 10 years for big, important, for example, mining investments. Mining investments require a long time, you know, exploration, and then to start the exploitation until you finally begin to produce profits and to sell the minerals. So this kind of tax invariability was a great incentive for long-term investments to come to Chile.
Then you transitioned into private sector as legal counsel. You had the first investment negotiation in the oil and gas industry. How was it like to work from the another side?
From the private sector, there was interesting because I knew all of the rules from the other side. I have been with the central bank, I have been with the Foreign Investment Committee, and now I was representing the foreign investor. So it was very, it was a time when serious investments were coming to Chile, and I participated in the amendment of a lot of rules that had to be amended to accommodate these new projects. because the form of financing the projects were different. It was called, and you needed new rules to have that working. One of those projects I remember was the construction and production of big plants in the far south of Chile for the production of methanol. I started with that project while I was at the Foreign Investment Committee, and that's when we had to change the regulations to accommodate them. And then when I went to the private sector, I went to the law firm where I stayed for more than 30 years. And this company was a client of that law firm. So they became my client because I knew them from the other side. So it was very interesting because they started with one plant, and finally they built 4 plants. That was very exciting because we had to negotiate for the construction of the plants. Then for the methanol is made with natural gas. So natural gas was bought from Argentina, and we had to negotiate the contracts for to buy the gas, and the contracts for the transportation of the gas, and so on and so forth. And that was for 4 different plants. So it was very, very important. And then the other great field, and it is down south also, in the far south, right where the methanol plants are, was the production of hydrocarbons. Later came the production of lithium. Production of hydrocarbons and lithium is reserved to the state, but the state can have private companies in the business by a concession or a special permit that is granted through a contract. Like for an investment contract, this is another kind of contract that allows you to explore, exploit, and sell hydrocarbons, lithium, and there's a whole formula where you need to pay the state a part of your sales. So that's how it works. So there were national and international bids to assign a site down south for this kind of exploration and exploitation of hydrocarbons. And I represented companies that had to participate in the bid, and all of them were successful. So they had their projects. So it was very exciting. And it was also joined with a methanol project because they were going to produce natural gas. And one of the important things that made them participate in the bid is that they had a buyer that was installed there, writing them, that's willing to buy their. So that was a great incentive.
After you go, you accept the role of Undersecretary of Energy. How did your family react to your role?
Well, my father would have been so proud, but he had died several years before. My mother was crying when I received the nomination. It was a public ceremony with the president. And so my son was there, filmed the whole thing. they were very proud.
Then you turn to the prefect sector where you are now. What is your more focus in this moment now?
Now I'm just having different consultations, you know, and reports on different issues, mainly mining, lithium, of course, and that kind of thing, and also about the political state of things, of the state of the art at the moment, which is not very good.
What project you have brought your most fulfillment?
Most of them, but I feel like this the methanol project was my baby, because I started from by the coincidence of my law firm having that client, continued with it from the private sector. So it grew from zero to a huge thing and was always there, you know, involved very, very. So I would say all of the projects I've been that have been successful, of course, I like, but this one is the one I love.
Mm-hmm. What do we have advice for the young people of Moldova?
Study. Read. Don't be with your telephones, you know, your little phones, you know, they're always playing. And they're another generation, you know. When I was a young girl, we didn't even have TV. So imagine the whole things that have happened. But I would say to the young people, if you don't study, if you don't put in all your effort, if you don't dedicate yourself to what you like and visualize what you want to be, you'll never get it. You know, it takes effort. It takes sacrifice. You need to dedicate yourself. Whatever you want to be. It's all that.
Thank you very much. Do you plan to visit Moldova or to find out more about your family history?
I don't know if there's anyone left from my family. I don't think so. Well, visiting Moldova now would be a little dangerous. How are you on that side? Is everything okay?
It's okay. Now today it's okay.
Okay. Well, I've always been interested in visiting Russia. I did once a couple of years ago, but was only in St. Petersburg. Beautiful. I would love to go to Moldova, but it's not in my near future plans.
And last my questions, what would you recommend to Moldovans to visit and see in Chile to understand the culture better?
Well, Chile is a very, very long country, you know, very thin, long country, and has so different places to visit that are so incredibly different. You know, in the far north, we have the desert of Atacama, and it's incredible. And then in the south, we have the lake region, beautiful lake region with volcanoes that have snow in them, and it's another thing. It's all green and very well known. And then down far south in near the Magellan Strait, you have a place that's called Torres del Paine, which is a beautiful place, and you see all the snow. You know, there are places, great places for skiing in Chile. And well, we have the sea. We have a beautiful sea and places to be at the sea, you know, beautiful towns and lots of activity. So it's a very touristic country.
All my questions is done. For me, it's an honor to speak with positive people with you. Thank you very much for your receptivity to find the time for our discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denis. It was a great opportunity for me to tell you about my grandfather and that family, because they were really extraordinary. The effort they made coming from Chișinău to Chile, you can imagine. And here we are.